Hello, in this video I will show you how to solve these two algebra problems. Now, let's look at the first one. So this problem is asking us to factor this. So we've got 3x squared plus 13x equals negative 4. So now, our first step should be making this equation equal to 0. So what we can do is, we just add 4 to both sides of the equation. So now our new equation is 3x squared plus 13x plus 4 is equal to 0. Now, when factoring, sometimes you may encounter this, where your a value, which is right here, your a value is greater than 1. When your a value is greater than 1, there's one crucial step that you need to do that differs from when your a value is 1. You have to take this a value and multiply it by your c value. So we'll do 3 times our c value, which is 4. So 3 times 4. And using that, we now know a new equation to help us find our two x values. So now we have x squared plus 13x plus 12 is equal to 0. Now from this we can find our two values. So now we have a normal factoring equation. All we have to do is see what two numbers can multiply to 12 and then add to 13. So 1 times 12. That will be our first choice. And 1 times 12 is 12. 1 plus 12 is 13. So we've got our two numbers, 1 and 12. Just to be sure, we can check 3, 4. That doesn't work. And 6 and 2. That also doesn't work. So we have confirmed that our two numbers are 12 and 1. Those are our two numbers. So now we have our two numbers. The next thing we have to do is take our original equation we had and then bring it back. I know we created a new equation here, but we're going to scrap that. We only use that equation to find these two values. So now we're going to bring back our new equation. And that'll be 3x squared plus 12x plus x plus 4. Because remember, these two numbers here are just splitting up our 13x into two numbers that can be factored. So that's why we had to multiply our a value times our c value. So now we do something called grouping, where we take these first two terms and the last two terms. We group those together and then we factor those individually. So now our next step is to factor within our groups. So we'll take 3x squared plus 12x. What's the greatest common factor? That'll be 3x. So our greatest common factor is 3x. And now that we have our factor, we just multiply it in order to create this equation. So now 3x times x plus 4 will get us 3x squared plus 12x once again. So we're just factoring the equation. We're not changing it in any form. So 3x squared plus 12x, that just becomes 3x times x plus 4. And now we'll take our second group, which is x plus 4. Our greatest common factor is just 1, because we can't divide by anything greater than 1 because the x value is only 1. So our greatest common factor is 1, so plus 1 times x plus 4. That's the exact same thing as x plus 4. So we now have these two equations. And all we do is we take these two equations and then we take these two. So right here. So 3x and 1. We group those. So our new equation is now 3x plus 1 times x plus 4. That is our new equation. And that will be our completely factored equation. And now let's look at this second problem. And this problem is asking us to solve for x. Now, all we have to do to solve for x is something called cross multiplication. Cross multiply. So all we have to do is cross multiply. Now what I mean by that is taking these two terms on the bottom. So we've taken these two terms on the bottom and multiply it by the opposite numerator. So we're taking this and multiplying it by the opposite side's numerator. And then we're doing the same for this side. So now we have x times x minus 4 and x minus 3 times 4. Now we have to set these two equal to each other. So we've got x times x minus 4 is equal to 4 times x minus 3. So now let's just go ahead and expand it. X times x squared, x times 4 minus 4x is equal to 4 times x, 4x, 4 times negative 3 minus 12. So now we've got our terms, and we can go ahead and figure out a way to solve for x. So first thing we have to do is isolate x. So we have to do minus 4x minus 4x. So that'll be x squared minus 8x is equal to negative 12. And now what you should see from this equation right here is if we bring the 12 over to the other side, that could become factorable. So we'll just do plus 12 plus 12. So our new equation is x squared minus 8x plus 12 is equal to 0. Now let's go ahead and factor this normally. We've got, what are two numbers that multiply to 12 but add to negative 8? So these two numbers, negative 12, negative 1, doesn't work. We've got negative 6, negative 2. Those add to negative 8, so those will be our two numbers. We've got negative 6, negative 2. Those two add to negative 8. So now we'll just go ahead and factor this. So x minus 6 times x minus 2. That's our factored form. Now, all we have to do is set these two different factored sets equal to 0. So we got x minus 6 is equal to 0, and x minus 2 is equal to 0. So now we just do plus 6, x is equal to 6, and plus 2, x is equal to 2. So those two will be our final answer. And remember, it's okay if there are two solutions. This will happen if you just coincidentally get a factored answer. So the two values for x are 6 and 2. Thank you for watching this video, and be sure to watch out for future videos, and make sure to subscribe and like the video. Thank you.